Here's Brody Brazil.
For as much uncertainty as there currently is surrounding the Tampa Bay Rays and where their home might be moving forward in St. Petersburg or elsewhere, at least we know one thing. There are some deadlines, and there's a very hard deadline that's basically right around the corner. Now, I realize it's early February here and now, but late March is going to arrive quite quickly, and on March 31st, 2025, we are going to know whether the Rays will at least have a new stadium project for this site right next to Tropicana Field. At least if this happens, there's a lot more stability of this franchise, and all the talks about relocation and selling the team probably diminish because at least they would have that. But the Rays have multiple situations going on right now. You just saw Tropicana Field. That is an old photo. The roof was mangled right after Hurricane Milton made its way through in October, but the roof and interior damage to Tropicana Field still going to cost at least $56 million. They've done some mitigation and tried to cover the building right now so that there's not further damage, but it's uncertain when the city of St. Petersburg and how the city of St. Petersburg might pay almost $60 million to fix up that stadium for 1 or 2 or 3 or 5 more years, however many more years. But that is uncertain, so that's kind of up in the air. The Rays are going to play their 2025 season, this upcoming baseball season, at Tampa's Steinbrenner Field. That's where the Yankees minor league, their single-A team, plays throughout the year. It's also the spring training home of the New York Yankees. The Rays are renting that out for $15 million for one season over in Tampa. And then there's this new stadium deal, which we're talking about here, which Stu Sternberg, the Rays owner, has been talking about with the owners' meetings this past week. The new stadium deal has already been approved by the city and the county. They've approved the funding. They've gone through all the final steps to move forward, but the Rays have said they couldn't necessarily commit because of some delays in the process, and now the stadium wouldn't be open by 2028. At the earliest, it's 2029, and because of that, they've incurred about $150 million of additional costs, and we'll get into that in just a second. So the deadline looks like this. St. Petersburg as the city and Pinellas as the county, they've approved the funding in late 2024 to move forward. The Rays now have to have a checklist of items complete by March 31st. It's now up to the Rays. It's entirely in their hands by March 31st. Otherwise, this deal ends. It expires. And if the deal ends, if it expires, the Rays not only lose the opportunity to move forward and, have this arrangement, which they worked on. They worked hard to get these votes approved. Now the votes have been approved and they're saying, wait, it's not exactly how we wanted it. The Rays also lose control over the entire gas plant district site, which Tropicana Field currently sits on, 65 or so acres. Like, that is a huge deal. That's a huge value that they lose control over. So look, all of this is just a back and forth between the city and county. They seem like they're on the same side, opposing the Rays. The government has forced the Rays into the deal that the Rays wanted, and now the Rays are kind of thinking about backing out, but the team has a lot to lose if they back out. But what is the actual gap here? What are we talking about with this delay and this cost? Why would the Rays turn around and say we can't do this anymore? Due to the approval delays, again, the votes that didn't take place in October and November, they did take place by late December. The Rays say that the cost of construction, just in a couple months, and because the project would be delayed a full year, which is, I don't know if that's true. They couldn't start a full new season, right, if they missed the deadline for opening day 28. But they say the cost has increased to $150 million. Two things about that. Number one, is that true? The price went up $150 million on probably a $2 billion stadium in 2 months? And the other part about it is, are we talking only about $150 million? That's like half of the Dodgers' payroll for one single season. That is the median payroll, basically, across Major League Baseball. One season's payroll could secure you a home, the home that you planned for, and have worked so hard to get approved. Now it is, and you're getting cold feet about it. So the stadium is not on the 28 timeline anymore, and I think everybody can agree. It's now beyond a couple months where it's taken some time. They don't want to start a partial season there. They want to do an opening day fresh, but they can't do it now until 2029. The external criticism here is obvious. Well, the team doesn't have the funding, and that's why they're getting cold feet, and that's why they're backing out of this, and that's why they're saying, whoa, that's not what we agreed to. It has less to do with getting the best deal possible or a workable deal. It has more to do with, we pushed this. We thought we were going to get more out of it. We didn't, and now we're not good for it at all. However, the Rays turn right back around and say that adding private investors is the easy part. And on that note, we will get into some quotes from Rays owner Stu Sternberg, who said a lot of different things to the Tampa Bay Times. I will link to that article down below. I highly encourage you to check it out. Sternberg was talking about the whole situation and how murky it is. And, there's a city like Orlando with an investor group out there that's trying to lure baseball to Orlando, and the whole situation and decisions that have to be made. Here's what Stu Sternberg said. I lose sleep over it. I'm trying. I know whatever decision I'll be able to look in the mirror and put my head down on the pillow and know that I can live with myself with it. Well, that must be the decision to either do the new stadium project or not, or move the team or not. I mean, there are multiple things at play here. I'm not so sure what he's being specific about, like what decision are we talking about? Because if securing private funding and financing to bridge that $150 million gap is easy, then there's nothing to lose sleep over. It's the decision of do you want to do it or not, which he talks about in just a second. How about the team being for sale? Sternberg is pretty adamant that it's not for sale, that he and his funding are enough to take care of this team in this situation. If it was for sale, people would know it. I've always been, and I will continue to be, pretty transparent about our intentions, and not pretty, but very honest about them. And I have been. That has not necessarily served us well for the last 3 to 4 months in the stadium discourse with the city and the county, but that is who I am and will continue that way. He also went on to kind of explain here the private funding part of it and that $150 million gap that maybe we're really up against of whether a brand new $2 billion stadium and like $9 billion project happens or not. Quote, having the money and putting it in are two different things. We can get a hold of the money. Does it make any sense to do it? That's really it. So if getting the money was a problem and you tried and couldn't make it work, it sounds like this is more of a decision on the Rays' part to either move forward with it or back out of it entirely, because it costs a certain amount more. But if it's easy to take care of, I'm just lost here. What's so hard about moving this forward right here, right now? If it's what you wanted to do the entire time, and that brings me back to wondering, is it just a cold feet situation about this entire project? Are there some second thoughts about this? And how about the urgency on announcing something, the urgency of moving forward on this? This is what Sternberg was quoted on as kind of a reaction to, well, will you announce something soon? I mean, you just had the owners' meetings and spring training is right around the corner. Will you announce something soon? I'm not saying a decision or this or that, but I'll be prepared coming out of this meeting and speaking to owners here. There's a lot that goes into it. I don't know what the rush is for anybody or for us. If this is, in fact, a multi-generational decision, I don't think anyone will care if it's a date in January, February, or March. He's saying he's not in a rush to come to this conclusion of move forward with the stadium or not, but wasn't it the Rays who kind of rushed St. Petersburg and Pinellas County to say, we need you to decide on this now, otherwise it's going to cost us $150 million extra? So all of a sudden, the Rays were in a rush, very much in a rush at the end of 2024. And now Sternberg is saying, well, we're not in a rush anymore to get this done. But we can get the private financing. We're just trying to decide if we want to do this or not. So maybe they feel the heat, the weight, the pressure of what to do here. But March 31st, like something's got to give between now and then. And here are my takeaways. Number one, again, if $150 million is the gap between yes and no, and this is a forever home and a project that's going to be multi-generational and multi-decade project, $150 million, it's huge to you and I. It's small potatoes for the bigger scale of this project. If this has the potential to earn you hundreds of millions, if not billions of dollars over the course of the next 30 years, then what's 150 right here, right now? And if it is easy to get the money, why not just say, well, we've already got the money? Or we have agreements in place if we want to do it. It's a done deal if we want to do it. But as of right now, I think the admission is, well, we don't have the money. We think it's easy to get the money. If you ask a baseball team like the Athletics, who were trying to do the same thing and get that money, secure more private financing for a stadium in Las Vegas, and reportedly they've been shopping it around to no avail, to no luck. So the A's ownership might have to fund the entire thing with their own family if they can afford it or not. Maybe it's not so easy to get money. Maybe that's just a front by the Rays. There will be, in my opinion, a couple more twists and turns to this, whether it's from the city side, the county side, the team side. The St. Petersburg mayor has already said that if this falls apart, it doesn't just get to be put back together again. Like if March 31st comes and goes and the deal's not in place, it's not like they say, well, it's May 18th. Let's put it back together again. Let's do it. We've finally agreed. Things dissolve and they basically start from scratch. This is a hard deadline for the Rays, and it is in their control. I guess the interesting part about this is they say they can do it. Well, why not do it? They say they're not in a rush, even though they rushed everybody else to get to this spot. So now there are some decisions to be made. I expect a lot of speculation. I don't think any option is off the table. I mean, going back and playing a handful of more years here, that's a question. It's an option, but it's still a question. Where does $60 million come from? Does it happen like that? Can it be done by the 2026 season? The Rays expect that. It doesn't seem like the city of St. Petersburg is really moving forward. By the way, late March is also the deadline. They know that they have to either fund Tropicana Field to get fixed or not. Otherwise, it won't be ready by the start of 2026. And the Rays have said we're not doing half seasons here and there. So yeah, there's a lot going on here. It's confusing. It's mind-boggling. I'm covering this because the number one thing is I hope the Rays don't decide to do something drastic here because of a natural disaster and because of a deal that they're backing out of. Possibly, if that's ultimately how it turns out. That's the end of this video. Thumbs up down below. That'll greatly help me and this video and this channel. And one more quick thing while you're down there, make sure you've already hit that subscribe button. That way I can definitely see you back here next time.